Okay, so it's been a while since I've done a tier list studies on corporations, so this is kind of exciting. But I'm gonna do all preludes. Now I'm gonna do it in parts because I don't want to do like an hour-long video, honestly. Um, so that's pretty much the same way I did corporations, but I'm gonna do like preludes. Probably have less to say on each one, so I'm gonna do like 13 or 14. And then I'm also gonna do the Prelude 1s first, and then the Prelude 2, because I want to have more time to play with the Prelude 2 ones before I rank them, right? So I'm gonna go alphabetical, except for I'm doing all of Prelude 1, and I'm including the promos there, because I do have some experience with those. So basically the first 40 are gonna be the first 3 videos, and then I'll probably have 2 more for the Prelude 2 ones. But anyway, let's go over the tiers. So game breaking, I mean, honestly, there aren't really any game breaking preludes because it's way early, but there are some that do like put you significantly ahead, and I won't put many there. But yeah, then always solid, like it says, these are basically preludes I never mind having, like even if I don't have synergy with them, they're always like pretty good. High synergy are sort of like, you know, I always like to have this like high ceiling, but usually worse than always solid, but can be better with high synergy, or even better than the game breaking ones if you have the right hand for them. The mid, these are just average preludes. Mediocre preludes that are rarely play but are not like the end of the world if you play them. Very few scenarios. Yeah, again, preludes that are some of these I don't think I've ever played, but we'll see. And then unusable, I actually can tell you that the ones I have here I have never played, at least to my memory. You could get multiple of these and you might be forced to play them, but I don't think I've been that unlucky. Now, most of my rankings are based on 2-player and 3-player games, with most of the expansions. I mean, usually all. Of course, in Steam I just play with the available ones. But yeah, just keep that in mind. I do favor engine games because that's how I like to play. So anyway, let's begin. Let's start with Acquired Space Agency. And this is a prelude that I didn't like at first, but I do think I want to put it in high synergy. And it is a high ceiling prelude, but the issue with it is space tags at the beginning aren't that useful. They're very good. There are very good point space cards and terraforming space cards, but like eco building, there aren't that many, right? The 6 titanium is great, so that's the thing, that you're getting 18, right? And you just need one of these to be good early. But I really prefer playing this if I already have the space tech that I want to play, and then I can pick up 2 point cards. So with that synergy, then like if you have something like IO mining or asteroid mining, which are space techs that I do like to get down early, then this is great. If you don't, and like your Phobolog and your, this is actually I think a terrible prelude for Phobolog because they already have the titanium. They sort of need to convert titanium into money production quick, which means they need satellites or immigration shuttles. But there aren't that many cards that do that, so I prefer with Phobolog like pure money preludes. But anyway, I'm going on a tangent. But that's the thing, like I do like to have the good space tag in hand, and just maybe I'll draw. So like space tags will be good, but maybe they're not good early. So that's why I'm putting it in high synergy, even though it could go in always solid. It's almost there. But I can't say I play this always. Moving on to Allied Bank, and this is maybe the best prelude in the game. There's just no scenario where you don't like this and where it's not super strong. Really, like it doesn't matter if you're rushing, engine, whatever. This is just like always awesome and a huge advantage. It's also it helps a lot with getting to specialist. Because money is the easiest one, and you know, getting 4, and it's not that unusual to get like business empire and then you have the 10 there. So to me, probably the best prelude in the game, but we'll keep seeing. Okay, moving on to Aquifer Turbines, and I'm gonna put this in mid. It might be closer to the top of mid, But okay, the ocean is very good in Tharsis. It gets you the 2 cards, so it's stronger there. And if you're playing with colonies, having 2 energy to start with, it's really strong. Like paying 11 for the last energy to be able to trade is very good. The attack's not very useful, and the -3 doesn't really matter that much. So yeah, I think it does a bunch of things, but because of colonies, I'm gonna put it in mid. And the other thing is, like, I don't generally like preludes that give you 1 energy unless you have something to use it because you didn't get tapped. If it gives you 2 energy, I mean, the tapping still hurts, but like you're not gonna get tapped twice probably, so it's less likely that you get hit twice. Which brings me to a prelude that gives you 1 energy, and that's Biofuels. And this is, I think, my least favorite plant prelude. Well, no, I mean, there's 2 that are worse, but they're like more of mixed preludes. But it gives you 2 plants, an energy, and a plant production. And first of all, I hate that it doesn't have a plant tag. It has a micro tap, which is a lot less useful. But then also, like, the single plant production is not useful unless you already have plant production, and the single energy production is only useful really if you have a power hungry card, right? So like if you're Ecoline and you have a sitting hand, I'm actually happy to see this probably, but then again, even then I'm gonna like there are a bunch of plant preludes that I like better, even if that's the case. So like there's a few scenarios where it's okay and a bunch of other scenarios where it's useless, and that's why I'm gonna put it down here. It's one of my least favorite preludes. I think I may have played these one stops. Then Biolab. Now I'm gonna put Biolab a little higher. Now think about it, like you get the same plant production, but instead of a microbe I get a science, and I get 3 cards instead of an energy and 2 plants, which I like way more. So this is actually a pretty good prelude for Excentric. It lets you claim planner pretty fast, and it gives you your second science stack, so that like I actually like it quite a bit. And then the plant production, I mean, you're Excentric, so you might be able to get some more plant production soon, because 1 plant production by itself is usually useless. It's still, I don't love it. In terms of production, it's not enough in terms of early game development. So that's why I'm putting it in mediocre. But it definitely has some uses. Like it's probably closer to the top of mediocre, and bottom of mid. It's just, it's it's also like a gamble. Like if you don't get good cards, then getting 1 plant production and 1 science tag is really not great. Then Biosphere Support. Now, people tend to not like Biosphere Support. I rarely ever see it played against me. I'm a little higher on it, and my specific use for it, I'm going to put it in mid, but behind Aquifer Turbines. My specific use for this is when you're a ground corp that doesn't start with plant production. So Tharsis and Arcadian communities, I usually love to see this build. First of all, those corps are as poor, so they can tank the -1 production, but also the 2 plant production. That is a plant every 4 generations, and it does have a plant tag, which it's an advantage over these 2 plant preludes, right? So yeah, I think of these 3, this one's definitely better, but yeah, it's still like for Ecoline it's a problem. For like the more poor rushing corps like Ecoline, it's a problem to get this -1. I have killed myself in games with Ecoline for using this, and I learned that its best case scenario is Tharsis or Arcadian communities or something like that. But really, yeah, that's the thing. It's rarely that good with Ecoline. Moving on to Business Empire. I love this prelude. Now, it is a slightly less flexible than Allied Bank, right? There's a few corps where the -6 hurts, whereas the +3 is always good, right? It catches up in 4 generations, right? Because it's this one in 4 generations. By the 4th, it's giving you, the 5th generation you're catching up to Allied Bank, and after that, you get 2 extra per generation, so you'll get about 10 more. So that's why Biolab Bank is better. And yeah, like Ecoline, this could like ruin your first turn. Phobolog usually can't play this, but you kind of have to. So you basically just play it and buy 5 cards and do nothing else. But you know, having 6 cash for Phobolog is helpful. But I think I'm higher on this prelude than most people. But I love it. I love engine games, and for an engine game, this is amazing, right? Okay, next up, corporate archives. So the first of the these are the promo preludes, and so I think this prelude is awesome. I mean, obviously it's not on Steam, but I don't see people pick it enough when I play on tabletop. And looking at 7 cards and drawing 2 is like so much depth. Like looking at 7 cards and choosing 2, you're gonna find 2 good cards. And you get 13 in a science deck. So it's probably my favorite of the promo preludes, and I think it's super strong and very underrated. And it's also like good with pretty much all strategies. Like everyone can use 2 cards on 13 cash, right? And just the 7 cards, that's what's insane. Yeah, super underrated, always solid. Next up, we have Dome Farming. It's probably the most popular plant prelude, and I'm gonna put it in high synergy because if you're not going for ground game, then this is not great. But if you are, like, I mean, this is one of Ecoline's best preludes, basically, right? You get that 3rd plant production. Now, if you see my videos in the past, I've said many times, I always like to have Ecoline on 3 at least, because think about it, you get to 7 and then you place a Serenity, so you have 2 plants, produce 3, you have 5, and then next turn you can just do Ocean, place and repeat that cycle, right? So basically, or City or another granary, but any tile basically. But basically, you need to get 4 from 2 placements and 3 from production, right? And one of your placements is your previous granary. So I think it's really important to have Ecoline on 3 plants. It's really easy to place granaries if you do that. And then the 2 cash production is really useful. It also, like, the fact that it has 2 tag, it has the plant tag, which, you know, only of the ones we've seen, only Biosphere Support has it. But it also has the building tag, which is really useful for builder. So in Tharsis map, which is the most played one, it's really useful. And I do like that it's a balance between plants and eco. So yeah, Dome Farming, high synergy. Yeah, I think I'm gonna keep it behind Acquired Space Agency because I can see it's been used in a few more scenarios. Okay, donation. And donation is quite simply always solid, right? Like, I know it doesn't have the highest effect, but like, you're never sad to see donation in your hand. And again, remember, I know these 2 preludes can be better than donation in a lot of scenarios, but that's what the tiers are. You're never sad to see donation. It's sort of like the average value prelude because it's 21, but at the same time, like, the fact that you can use that 21 for anything without any restrictions is great, and it's also like it's good for anyone. It's a lifesaver for poor corporations. Now you might say, okay, they're like character and credit core. They don't use, like, they're usually not gonna spend all their money in the 1st gen, but by the 3rd gen you've probably spent it all, right? So I don't hate playing this with, like, obviously you'd rather have a production if you're character or credit core. But by the 3rd generation, you're usually running out of all your cash, so like donation still works, right? It's not gonna give you as much money as Allied Bank or Beat an Empire, but you're never sad to see it, and that's why it's always solid. Okay, moving on. Early settlement. No, sorry, double down. A double down has to go on high synergy. I'm gonna put it above Dome Farming, but below Acquire Space Agency. And obviously it needs to synergize with one of your preludes. So if you get 3 terrible preludes, it's actually really sad to see double down. And there's other scenarios, like UNMI I've mentioned. I like to get 1 Terraforming prelude, and then 1 prelude that gives me sort of production to help me with terraforming in the future, or just economy, right? That's my ideal case with UNMI. Double down doesn't let you do that, but that's sort of the exception. For most corporations, you do like doubling down on one of your preludes. So yeah, like it's just your best prelude twice. So yeah, it's just high synergy. There are scenarios where you like, that's the thing. Even if you get 3 red preludes, you're probably picking the best one and doing doubling down. So like when you see this in your hand, you're usually gonna play it. You're just sad to see it sometimes if you don't get anything good. Next up, early settlement. Now this is my least favorite city prelude, so I'm gonna put it in mediocre, and I am gonna put it after Biolab. And yeah, so city and plant production is good. There's just no corporations for which this is my favorite. Like, I still prefer self-sufficient settlement for most corporations, and yeah, it's okay with Ecoline. Like, you protect your granaries and you get that third plant production. You miss out on economic development though, so it's fine. I don't know. I never play it that often, and yeah, I feel it's a little underpowered. And it doesn't synergize that well with like Tharsis, contrary to my belief, because might not need that second city that often. The one production you get from it is not a huge deal, and one plant production by itself is not great. So if you get another, like early settlement, Biosphere Support with Tharsis, I like that better. You're getting a city and plant production, and you know that the minus here, you're getting one from the city from the bonus, so that's sort of like annulling itself. But other than that, I don't know. I just rarely play it. Now, Ecology Experts is the ultimate high synergy prelude. The thing is, like, I have to put it at the bottom of high synergy because I just use it so rarely, but it's the highest ceiling prelude. I've mentioned before, obviously the first card I think comes to everyone's mind is Kelp Farming, because not only you get the 3 plant prod, you also get 2 cash prod. So like Kelp Farming is an insane value card for 17. It's just that it's supposed to be played late, and Ecology Experts bypasses that, right? You also get 2 great tags. But like the ugliest thing that has been done to me is someone kept this in order to play birds hitting themselves, and then I played Ecoline and then they hit me. So they were basically playing, I think, this and maybe down farming or something else, and then they were gonna like take 2 plant production from themselves and then get birds going from the beginning, which, you know, honestly might not have been the most strong play, but at the time it seems strong. But of course, when you do it to your opponent, it's game ending. Like I have never felt so out of a game in the first generation, especially with Ecoline, you know, because like Ecoline is so poor. Like they take your plant production, they've taken everything from you. So yeah, it's definitely the highest ceiling prelude, but because there's not that many cards that work with it. There's like Kelp Farming, which is a beast, birds in that scenario, which I don't think will happen much, and then there's a few things like obviously trees is good too, or farming, but there's very few cards that I think penguins now could be good because you don't have to hit your own plant production. But yeah, it's gotta go to the bottom of high synergy just because it's rare. And let's do the final one for today, and that's gonna be Excentric sponsor. And honestly, you'd think this is high synergy, but I just think it's mediocre. Think about it. You get 4 more than donation, but you have to spend it on one card and it has to be in your hand. I swear to God, whenever I get this card, like I never see a card of value 21, and you lose all your flexibility. So that's the strength of donation. That's why the 21, even though it's average in value, the 21 is really good because you can use it for whatever you want. Especially when you have things like Turmoil, which you can use money for delegates, or standard projects. But yeah, you lose all that flexibility with Excentric Sponsor. You basically need a very expensive early game card, you know, something like IO Mining. And there aren't that many, so I swear, but I almost never play this, so I can't even put in high synergy, because the thing is, the ceiling is not that high. It's just slightly better than Donation. It doesn't do what Ecology Experts does when it works, right? It just, you know, it's you get slightly more value. So yeah, anyway, that's the first 14 preludes. Haven't hit the unusable tier yet, but let me know what you think, and see you next time.